Hello and welcome back to another episode of the ManageMe podcast. And today we have a very special guest joining us. We've got Freddie. Freddie is a student at Imperial College London. He is an avid technology lover and a runner. So welcome, Freddie.
Hello, well, I'm happy to be here.
So I think it's fair to say that Freddie knows a thing or two about technology. And having him on today's episode will allow us to discuss the currently very topical OpenAI and ChatGPT tool that is taking the world by storm at the moment. AI is having an increasing impact on everybody's lives. This can be seen from the systems we use to the media we watch and the stuff that we buy. I want to use this episode as an opportunity to talk about the implications of this mass AI adoption, the effects technology is having on privacy, and try to tackle the black box that is these endless scrolling algorithms and how we can escape them before they do too much harm to us. So let's bring in Freddie. What is AI and how does it differ from machine learning?
So AI is more kind of an umbrella term for kind of computers being able to do things on themselves and having their own kind of cognitive thoughts. So you'd kind of say AI is powering like cars and things, and it's kind of what Tesla are using, but also on your phone maybe. Your photos being filtered and being able to search by terms.
Okay.
And then machine learning is more this kind of subset of that, which is based on the computer learning from previous data, which you've kind of got. So I gave the example of your photos on your phone. Did you know at night, actually, it's indexing every single photo on your phone and checking for objects and seeing what's in them. So when you go and search later on, you can actually
Really?
see. Yeah.
Whoa.
I know.
Wow. Did
Quite
not
cool.
know that.
Yeah, it's quite creepy in a way, but it's also very interesting.
It is a bit creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, and then why is it so topical at the moment? Why is ChatGPT different?
So ChatGPT and actually behind the scenes, GPT is actually what's powering it.
Yep.
Is really exciting because it's kind of gone beyond what we've ever seen before. And even now, since December when it came out, there's been things like Bing's new search engine
Yeah,
that's
I've
come
heard
out
about that.
powered by OpenAI. Not OpenAI, sorry. GPT. It's kind of similar to GPT, but they've developed their own model. And then also Google, I think, is doing something called Bard, which hasn't been released yet,
Yes.
but they're under a bit of pressure. So it's all very exciting. But GPT, really advanced model based on the internet, but now with things like Bing, it's actually checking every day. So it's getting more and more advanced, like by the month at the moment.
Yikes. And because it's getting more and more advanced, obviously it begs the question, are we going to be able to tell what an AI wrote or even drew? Because all of these algorithms with art as well, AI art, like, are we going to be able to tell?
So we actually recently did a project with AI art for IC Hack, which was a hackathon at Imperial, and it was using GPT-3, and it was generating recipe art um, based on kind of prompts from GPT-3.
Wow.
And the images looked exactly kind of recipes. There's Fridge Hack if you want to Google and see what it
Fridge Hack.
came up with. But the images, they couldn't tell the judges, and these were kind of Cisco employees, they couldn't tell that they were actually generated by an AI. And when we told them, they were kind of blown away. And they literally looked like stock art images.
Oh my gosh.
So, and there's also obviously the slightly nefarious nature of these kind of systems as well with deep fakes. And also you could type in some kind of important, prominent person doing something perhaps that they wouldn't want to be seen doing or
Yeah.
something suspicious. You could, there's also kind of films and things based on this already. I like The Capture on BBC where there's kind of this guy incriminated because he'd been deep faked into this footage.
Oh
It's
my
like
gosh.
correction from the government. So there's all these kinds of concerns as well, but it's all very exciting in my opinion.
Gosh.
Yeah.
It is exciting, unless I suppose your job is being taken. Or what do you think about that? Removing power from ordinary people, or is it actually providing more opportunities?
So I do think in some ways, it's definitely not ideal in certain places because obviously, it's replacing generally the lower skilled jobs where it's kind of routine, what computers are very good at. But I do feel that these systems are always going to require kind of people to train them or check they're working properly, so quality assurance. But the whole point of the AI is obviously reducing costs,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
alongside other things like efficiency. And even though it's going to still have jobs for those people kind of quality checking, it's going to reduce the number of staff that they need. So,
Exactly.
but yeah, it is a big kind of topical ethical issue at the moment.
It is
So
indeed. And going along with that, where do you personally, from your experience with AI and everything, where do you see it in 10 years? Is it going to become evil as people think, like sentient, or is that just pure science fiction?
I don't think it's going to come evil in the next 10 years.
Uh-huh.
I don't think we're going to hopefully get to the level quite yet where it's going to be able to literally live on its own and kind of get out of control. But obviously with things like Boston Dynamics, the people
Yeah.
who make the cool robots, like Spot and are trending on YouTube and that kind of thing, they might actually get a bit more intelligent than just doing backflips. They might have AI powering them, kind of doing all these cool moves. And obviously there's military applications for that kind of thing,
That's true.
which is where perhaps the kind of evil nature, but that's not the AI probably. That's probably the humans coding it in to do that and kind of do all these kind of things.
Gosh,
I know.
it's quite scary with that. But moving on from AI in general, I want to get your opinions on the effects of general technologies that are having on ourselves and our relationships with others. So one thing that's been on my mind recently is, can we actually have true privacy anymore in terms of online or offline?
It's quite difficult now, especially if you're just a general internet user.
Mm.
So we've had it around like even 10 years ago. The Facebook like button that you see on websites, that's normally like a tracking script. So when you visit like Daily Mail or BBC News or that kind of thing, it's often sending back to Facebook, which is another way
Blimey.
Facebook tracks you that you're not even logged in and they're building a digital footprint. And that's been around 10 years ago. Now it's much more sophisticated. Obviously, Google have Google Analytics, which it's got good usage. Like it's not nefarious that Google are doing this. They're helping website owners tell what kind of traffic's coming on their website. But obviously, you're giving all the data to Google, and because everyone uses Google Analytics, they can see all the traffic across all these websites.
Oh my
I
God.
use it on my website, and you can like see how long people have spent on an
Oh my
image, where
God.
they're scrolling. So yeah, it's definitely kind of upped in the past few years, and you can imagine with things like AI, you're going to be able to analyze that data and like work out trends of behavior and that kind of thing. So
Oh my
lots of
God.
things going on with that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. And like also because we're being tracked so much and things like the Apple Watch are working out when we need to go to a doctor's appointment, for example,
Yeah,
if our blood pressure's going weird. Do you think all this new technology and AI in general is going to make us lazier as people?
I do think that it's already kind of happening. So when you go shopping now, you can use like online shopping and that does it all for you. And also you don't have to choose each time. You can just kind of say, or set menu of items. I actually tried HelloFresh this week.
Oh,
I got a free box. It's not really a technology product, but the
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
idea
yeah,
that
yeah.
you get like the meal done for you and it's all I think it actually has maybe some like meal selection algorithm which it randomizes each week so you don't even need to go shopping anymore to choose your meals.
Blimey.
I'm not going to do it again, I must say. It was quite a fun but I can see like how people are going to get lazier and
Yeah.
lazier. I do think there's also positive benefits from that. So people could argue that actually cooking, most people enjoy it, but some people would say, actually, I don't really want to cook anymore. I can spend my time doing something else, which is more productive,
Mm,
like working or exercising,
okay.
instead of cooking. So there's positive trends to what could be seen as being lazy. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I've seen it myself using the Amazon Fresh stores where you
yeah,
literally just grab stuff, walk out. It's so much easier and faster. And also, I want to touch on the other side of you as a person. You're a big runner.
yeah,
And I've noticed you use Strava a lot to log all of these things. And I was thinking as well, there's almost a sort of paradox with social media where people upload everything onto social media, like everything about their lives to show that, they're doing all of these things. But then we also end up spending a chunk of our time on social media checking what other people are doing,
yeah.
which almost takes away from the social thing. Do you have Any thoughts on that?
So yeah, I when I use Strava, it's automatically uploading, but I do know some
Ah,
people
okay.
who actually hold back from uploading. They want to kind of give that image of like it being a certain type of speed or whatever. So
Yeah.
I do know some people doing that. And then of course on Instagram, people are always going to post kind of what they probably want to be seen. But I think social networks are kind of being more aware of privacy. So Strava's recently made it so by default the start and finish of your
Yeah.
run are hidden, which is ideal. And then also my profiles are all anything that I'm kind of using for personal stuff is all private. And then anything I want like an employer or someone to see is public. So I think it's kind of already quite good. But obviously, there's more to be done. Instagram, TikTok. TikTok's notorious for having like quite an invasive
Yeah.
algorithm.
Yeah.
It's like looking at everything you're doing,
Oh
how long
God.
you're watching. It's kind of working out how long you've stayed on one video to show you the next one. And that's an example of kind of a modern day like social media network kind of really using data to target it towards you, which is why TikToks are so relevant towards you. So yeah. Yeah.
It's quite scary when you think about it. And with all this TikTok stuff where it's checking like how long you spend on things and what you're really interested in, is it possible to be anonymous on the web? It was sort of similar to the other question, but
It's quite tricky. There are
yeah.
ways. So there's obviously VPNs, which you get adverts for,
Hmm.
and that helps a bit. But if you've logged into Google with your Google account, and then you're going on YouTube, and then you're going on a website which is connected with Google, obviously that's connected to your Google account.
Yeah.
And then Google's got access to that information. Obviously, their kind of privacy, and you can see videos about their data centers and how secure they are. You're probably fine in kind of, but obviously that's not private. If someone from Google,
Wanting to look.
yeah, although they do have like, it wouldn't be any engineer at Google. It would have to, you'd have, there's obviously layers,
Yeah,
but like they technically could at someone high up at Google if they needed to, because obviously um, there can sometimes be like law cases and things like
yeah.
that, court cases where they request data and they legally have to supply it. So you just have to be aware of that. But when I name Google, it's obviously any companies. We're not naming and shaming any company in
Yeah.
particular, but yeah, any kind of login you use. There's obviously now services as well which kind of randomize your IP address
Yeah.
in browsers, which aren't VPNs. They're a bit different. Um, and that can be helpful, but again, it's kind of correlations,
It's
looking at data in the past, kind of patterns, looking at kind of ways, fingerprinting, where they look at the screen size of your phone or the
mm.
operating system, what version you're on, and where your location is, and trends if you use the same VPN service, this kind of thing.
So they're gonna know you anyway,
So that
basically.
there is ways they
Oh
can
my
work it
God.
out. But yeah, there are still ways. I think there's obviously other platforms as well, which we won't name, but um, like Edward Snowden style.
Hmm.
But even then, like I think he froze his laptop out for
Yeah.
30 days or something. So being tracked is quite easy now on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, I myself have got the Google Mini or Google Home, whatever it's called, just over there. Like, is that tracking us right now? Even
Uh,
though see it's not active, but
yeah, so no. It's got I believe it's got like a special chip inside it, which is constantly listening for the wake word,
yeah.
which we won't say. But but it's not constantly listening supposedly, and I trust them. It's kind of similar with other things like Alexa and
Yeah.
the other kind of assistants. They're always listening for the wake word, and then they do more processing. But generally, when you say the wake word, it might mishear something and hear the wake word. It's then transmitting that data all the way to a foreign kind of server, and then that comes back. So if you accidentally trigger it, we could be listening, but it's not at the moment. We can kind of trust it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope so. Oh my gosh. I'd like to wrap up with a brief talk about what on earth is going on with this shift to algorithms dictating what we see. So you talked about TikTok before,
Yeah.
and the fact that now these companies are being pressurized by shareholders and investors and everyone to maximize session time, to maximize revenue. And these companies are creating an endless scroll. So many of them are doing it now, even news sites,
Mm.
which is really damaging, I think, consumer people's mindsets. So I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Do you think it's down to these companies to like purposefully reduce their sort of dopamine loops, reduce the predicted user session time, or is it down to us to not be addicted, to not be drawn into the rabbit hole of these algorithms?
I do feel it's a shared responsibility. So TikTok, and we go back to,
Let's go back to it.
it's got a funny kind of definition of parental controls. I remember setting it up so I could reduce my screen time on it, and the minimum kind of screen limit you could put on is 45 minutes, and you can go below that. So that's kind of the trend of dark patterns. So they appear to kind of be helping, but really, in reality, you should be able to set that to like 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day.
Yeah,
Like they want you to be using it, and obviously it's their main kind of income source. They need you to be using that app, and they need people to be sharing and getting others engaged,
yeah,
which you're not going to get if you're limiting your time to below a certain amount. It's kind of come from things like Instagram, and then everyone's kind of copied it. This kind of endless data, and also having stuff coming in, which is instant and real time, which makes you want to kind of stay on these platforms
yeah,
rather than going
yeah,
on like Netflix or something, is what is kind of drawing users in. But then again, there's loads of tools from the actual device manufacturers, like on iPhone, you've got screen time, which allows you to kind of limit it.
mm,
But it's quite easy actually to just kind of say ignore. I get a lot of adverts at the moment for these apps you can install, which are like alternatives to screen time, which is supposedly meant to be harder to ignore. But I think it's more on the individual, to be honest, and kind of physical measures like putting your phone in another room.
yeah.
That's the best way.
It's quite sad. I suppose it's come to that point though where we need to get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In some ways, social media can be really good. So
Mm,
finding out about events around you,
definitely.
or like interesting things to go and watch, or kind of on Twitter particularly, I think there's loads of interesting stuff if you follow the right accounts, like about the area around you.
Although it's interesting though because the whole Twitter thing, especially with all the recent layoffs like Meta, Google, all of them, Apple. I'm not sure
Apple
if
haven't
Apple
had
had
any of
it.
that.
Yeah, Apple actually, yeah.
They've been quite good.
Yeah. Tim Cook slashed his pay instead, I think.
Yeah, very impressive. But all companies are kind of under financial pressure at the moment. Well, they're not under financial pressure immediately, so their profits are all actually pretty good. It's just that they need to look for the future, and it's not going at the rate they expect.
Yeah.
Um, so they've hired on all these staff with COVID, especially things like Zoom and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then everyone's come back in the office, and cost of living as well is affecting
Yeah.
everyone. So people are less willing to spend money on certain things. So they've got to try and look forward. And with things like Google, for example, they recently laid off a few people and said they're really trying to prioritize the AI because they know there's pressure from
Mm.
investors with things like ChatGPT, and Bing have obviously just come out with their platform, and I've tried it. I've actually got on the wait list, and it was pretty impressive.
Do you,
Like I searched myself, and it found my TikTok from like a week
oh
ago,
my
which was so creepy.
gosh.
Another website which I thought was creepy was I've forgotten. I think it's called Him Eyes or Dim Eyes, and you can put a picture of you into it, and then it's not like Google image search where it just searches the internet for similar things. It literally finds pictures of your face on the internet
Oh my.
and can tell who you are. So I put my face in, and lo and behold, it found a few pictures like which weren't even on Google Images. It just,
Do you think Bing, this like AI inside Bing, do you think that's going to help Microsoft to get back into the spotlight of the?
I do. I think other kind of search providers. I'm not sure. A lot of people are saying that Bard, Google's offering, might be kind of like Google trying to please investors, and it might not actually be a finished product. We'll have to see. Well, from what I've seen of Bing, it's actually really kind of technically impressive.
Blimey.
And I know a friend who switched to it just to try it out and like get into it because it is actually very useful. And things like Notion as well now,
Yeah,
they have an AI feature,
they do indeed.
which my friend was showing me. It's very fancy. So you can put in your notes for your coursework. And if you have like an exam, which is open book, you can just type in the question and it basically comes up with an answer for you based on your notes. So it's not going to come up with something off the internet. It's going to be based on notes you've been taught. So it's definitely going to be correct. So
Blimey.
there's lots of kind of tools now. I don't know why. It's quite interesting that it's all happened at the same time. 'Cause
Yeah.
Notion wouldn't have had. I don't know. I haven't looked into the behind the scenes of Notion, but they've not had enough time to develop like that kind of model between ChatGPT releasing and
Yeah.
now. So they've been working on it for years, or maybe they're using GPT behind the scenes. But it's all happening very quickly, and I can only imagine in 5 years it's going to be a bit insane. Not just
Seems
10
like an
years.
AI bubble. Like we had
Yeah.
the crypto bubble, now it's
Mm.
and following on from that, where do you see these algorithms going in the future? Is it going to apply into VR, like metaverse? Is that even a thing anymore?
So the metaverse is a lot of companies are getting excited about it. Facebook obviously is the main kind of contender for it at the moment. I must say, kind of the online. I forget what it's called, but there's a platform they've developed where you can kind of meet people in AR, and it's mainly filled with trolls. You've just bought a
Yeah.
headset and are kind of screaming at each other. But I think. It's interesting. There was 10 years ago, there's kind of like a concept like Google Glass. I don't know if you saw
Yeah, yeah,
this,
yeah, yeah.
which other companies might be kind of looking into. So that kind of thing where you can like see where you're going. There's already apps you can get on your phone where you can like see where you're going around a shop in mixed
Oh
reality.
my gosh.
Um, so I think there are developments in that. The AI aspect of it, I can't see kind of going in it yet. It's more kind of helping you in your day-to-day life. But I do think, the Dyson Zone headphones. Do you see that? Like the
No.
massive headphones. I think it will look a bit like that. It'll be really big around your head. It'll look a bit silly. I don't think many people will wear around the place. So I think until we get to like a Google Glass type system where it's kind of
Oh
inconspicuous,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
fake glasses or something like that, where you can't really notice. I think that's when it will kind of lift off like AR. But I do think it's exciting, but I don't know if we're going to get widespread adoption. And it's obviously probably going to be quite expensive as it launches.
How many years away do you think we are?
I would say to like actually being used in real life, 10 years,
10 years.
like people having it as a mainstream like iPhone thing, maybe. But even then, I'm doubting it. It depends on like the technology and how it
Yeah, yeah.
develops. Like if it's like your glasses now, just in AR, then obviously it would take off.
That would be
Yeah,
that would be crazy.
which could be possible. So we have to wait and see. But if it at the moment with the Meta headsets and things, it's not going to happen.
If these algorithms are made to exploit like human nature and keep us hooked, I actually have an extension on my laptop called Unhook, which basically gets rid of all the endless scroll things. It tries to stop that.
Yeah.
Maybe you could sort of speculate about what is inside these black boxes, because I watched what's it called, Social Dilemma,
Mm.
Netflix show, and they were talking about the black boxes a lot. Like, what can be done to escape them? Like, any tips for people who are?
Well, one thing is they work off your kind of device identifiers and obviously your account. So
Mm,
not being logged into YouTube. It's a good way. Opening up a new like browser session. So by that I mean, you know how you can have like different sessions in Google
yeah,
Chrome
yeah,
or like incognito, even though incognito might have other kind of connotations with it. You can actually use it to kind of clear your tracking identifiers, although it will be able to see like what operating system you're running, what
yeah,
window size. So there will be things you can do like that, but obviously you can't just get a new device every time.
yeah,
So it's quite hard. There is hardcore methods which you can do, which you can find on the internet, but look, they're kind of not very friendly. It's not, you're not going to be able to do it every time.
no,
People are going to look at you a bit funny if you're in the office and you're like opening up a new kind of session every time you browse the internet. So there are ways, but at the moment, you kind of, everything you type into your computer, you've just got to realize it's kind of open for anyone to see.
yeah, yeah. There's a big movement as well. People going back to like dummy phones with no social media, literally just like the Nokia basic ones. I mean, it's interesting. Maybe people with this whole AI bubble, maybe people are going to resent it. Do you think people will be on board with it, especially with the whole job losses and everything, or do you think?
It's quite difficult because Tesco are doing it at the moment in the UK a bit as well. So obviously they're kind of ramping up their self checkouts,
Yeah,
which is replacing people's jobs.
yeah,
And then they've even started doing that Amazon Fresh style store where you can walk
Yeah,
in. There's no plus really for store workers, although you can say there are more store workers to help out in the store, but there's still going to be less staff. I guess the argument from the government and other people, like the actual companies, is they can upskill into other roles, but obviously you can only have so many
it's not going to
people,
happen.
and it takes quite a lot of investment and a lot of effort. So yeah, we haven't yet reached the point where we've got an employment crisis, but that could happen.
And final question. Obviously, we have the crypto bubble. This could be argued to be an AI bubble. What do you think the next big technology is?
So AR is kind of heating up,
AI.
as we've mentioned, but personally, I don't know if it will be. I think kind of Boston Dynamic robots are really exciting. Like,
Mm,
where can we take it beyond that? So it's very nice having like running around dogs, but like deliver delivery robots would be quite useful. I mentioned HelloFresh, but obviously this is replacing more jobs. Like if your meals just got brought to you by a robot,
blimey.
it'd be quite cool. Then also, sustainability is another thing that's kind of really trending at the moment. Trying to find sustainable alternatives to things. So motor technology, maybe like electronic planes, that would be quite cool.
Mm,
Also like packaging as well. So we had Gillette come into Imperial and they did a makeathon and they were talking about reducing their packaging and that kind of thing and how they've moved
okay.
to kind of cardboard instead of whatever the plasticky kind of material. So all these companies are getting really pressured by sustainability because obviously of the climate action. Apple saying 2030, Tesla as well with their kind of solar panels and
Yeah,
getting net zero and that kind of thing. Yeah.
brilliant. Well, I think that just about wraps up today's episode of the Manage Me podcast. Thank you very much for coming, Freddie. And thank you very much for listening. And I will see you again very soon.